Have you ever looked at a sales report and just been completely baffled? You've sold more units than ever before, but when you look at the bottom line, the profit just isn't what you expected. Well, that is a classic business puzzle. And today, we are going to solve that exact mystery using a case study on a company called Queensland Chemicals. We're going to see how selling more can, believe it or not, actually mean earning less.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll dive into Queensland's puzzling sales numbers. Then, we'll get a solid handle on the two key ideas here, mix versus quantity. After that, we'll actually crunch the numbers and calculate the variances. Then comes the important part, interpreting what it all means. And we'll wrap everything up with a quick formula flash to make sure you've got the key takeaways locked in.
All right, let's get right into the data. Our story kicks off with Queensland Chemicals. And, on the surface, their sales figures looked amazing. But as we're about to find out, those top-line numbers were hiding a pretty expensive secret. And that really gets us to the heart of today's explainer. When is absolutely crushing your sales target not actually the great news it seems to be? Let's take a look at the evidence. Okay, so check this out. Queensland Chemicals budgeted to sell 5,000 kilograms of product. They actually sold 5,750. That's a 750 kilogram surplus, a 15% jump in sales volume. I mean, any sales manager on the planet would be popping the champagne for a result like this, right? Well, maybe hold off on that. See, to understand why those great numbers are hiding a problem, we need to untangle two really powerful concepts in performance management: the sales mix variance and the sales quantity variance. These two ideas are what let us see exactly how changes in sales volume really affect our profits. Let's make this super simple with a bakery analogy. Think about the quantity variance like this. The bakery just sells more pastries overall. More volume, more cakes, more cookies. Great. But the mix variance, that's a whole different story. It's about the combination of what's sold. Did the bakery sell more of its super profitable high-end cakes, or did it just sell a ton of its cheap, low-profit cookies? See? The mix really, really matters. So let's put a proper definition on that. The sales quantity variance does one thing and one thing only. It measures the change in your profit that comes just from selling a different total volume of stuff than you planned. It assumes the mix of what you sold stayed exactly the same as your budget. And then we have its partner, the sales mix variance. This measures the profit impact from selling a different proportion of your products. Basically, it answers that critical question: did we sell more of our high-margin winners, or did we push a bunch of our low-margin fillers? All right, enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty and apply these ideas to the Queensland Chemicals data and see what the numbers are really trying to tell us. Now this slide, this is where we get our most important weapon for this analysis: the standard contribution per kilogram. This is just the budgeted selling price minus the budgeted variable costs. And you can see it right away. Chemical C3 is the absolute profit superstar, pulling in over 7,500 rupees per kilo. Meanwhile, C2, well, that's our low-margin product, earning just 752 rupees. You're going to want to remember these numbers. Okay, first up, this sales mix variance. The formula itself looks simple, but it all hinges on comparing the actual quantity sold with this special what-if number called the revised actual quantity. Seriously, understanding this what-if number is the absolute key to the whole thing. So let's break it down. All right, let's walk through this table nice and slow. The actual quantity column, that's easy. It's what they really sold. Now, that revised actual quantity, or RAQ, that's the tricky part. It's a hypothetical number. We're asking what if the company had sold its actual total volume of 5,750 kilograms, but had kept the sales mix exactly the same as the original budget. So for C1, the original budget said it should be 20% of total sales. So its RAQ is 20% of the actual total of 5,750, which gives us 1,150. Now we compare. They actually sold 900 kilos, but based on the budgeted mix, they should have sold 1,150. That's a shortfall of 250 kilos, and that's why we call it an adverse, or A, difference. So now, we take that difference in quantity, that 250 kilo shortfall, and we multiply it by the standard profit contribution for that product. For C1, that shortfall of a high-profit product created an adverse variance of over 1.5 million rupees. It's a huge number. And even though sales of the other two products were technically favorable, they just couldn't make up for that massive loss. The net result is a pretty significant adverse variance. And here it is, our first big reveal. Just the shift in the sales mix, selling the wrong combination of products, cost Queensland Chemicals 570,600 rupees in potential profit. That is a huge, self-inflicted wound to their bottom line. But what about the benefit of just selling more stuff overall? Well, that's what the sales quantity variance tells us. This formula compares that what-if RAQ to the original budgeted quantity, or BQ. It isolates the pure effect of that increased volume. And because they sold more in total, every single product here shows a favorable, or F, difference. And this is the other side of the coin. This is the good news part of the story. The simple act of selling 750 more kilograms of chemicals, assuming the mix was right, should have generated an extra 2.1 million rupees in contribution. This is the big win from all that extra sales effort. So now for the really crucial part. We have to put these two numbers together. We've got this huge positive from selling more volume, but we've also got this big negative from selling the wrong mix. So what on earth does this tell management? The source material really just says it perfectly. That shift in the sales mix actively cut into profits by over 500,000 rupees. It didn't just mean less profit, it actually curtailed it. That's the kind of critical comment you need to make to show you understand the full picture. So here it is, the solution to our mystery. The sales team, they deserve a gold star for increasing overall volume. That created a potential profit gain of over 2.1 million rupees. But, and this is a huge but, that gain was slashed by over 570,000 rupees. Why? Because the team sold a higher proportion of the super low-profit C2 and a lower proportion of the high-profit C1. They pushed volume, but they didn't push profitable volume. Okay, to wrap this all up and make sure these concepts really stick for any exam prep, let's do a quick-fire recap of the two essential formulas we used today.
First, the sales mix variance. It's your standard contribution multiplied by the difference between what you actually sold and what you should have sold if you'd kept your budgeted mix.
And for the sales quantity variance, you're again using that standard contribution. But this time, you multiply it by the difference between that what-if revised quantity and your original budgeted quantity. This is what perfectly isolates the impact of just selling more units overall. And that leaves us with one final critical thought. This whole analysis uncovers a classic management problem. When you reward pure volume, you can accidentally punish profitability. So, if you were advising Queensland's management, what would you tell them to do? Would you totally overhaul their sales commissions? Maybe tie bonuses directly to the contribution margin of what's sold, not just the total kilos? It's a strategic choice with some pretty massive financial consequences.